The internet nowadays is a place in decline, full of choconia, shitposts, misinformation, constant reminders of the horrible state the world is in, and people hitting each other in very funny ways. You can choose any social network depending on the excuse you want to use to keep putting off going to sleep. But if there's something we've seen for years, it's the domination of short content, platforms that randomly show you constant content without you even searching for it. I'm not saying it's bad though. Ultimately, we all waste hours scrolling, but this conveyor belt of content allows that among the most normal videos that usually show up, every now and then we get one that's more on the scary side of the platform, and even though it's really disturbing, maybe you'll forget it 4 videos later, or maybe you won't. And there are a few others that we'll talk about in this video that aren't just simple scary videos. That's why in today's video, and since my job is to explore these corners of the internet, we'll take a look at 3 videos that showed up only once, never to return, exploring disappearances, strange searches, and the deepest levels we can reach in this app. Starting with the calmest thing on the list, and with something that probably everyone has already had a curious experience with, the search algorithm is really weird. But I'm not talking about how annoying it is when Netflix, for example, claims to have a movie by its full title only to reveal they don't actually have it. Sometimes it feels like TikTok is directly threatening you. Multiple users have reported that the bar has started showing strange messages, for example with one user mentioning that her suggestions have been replaced by, "I don't understand why you're so nervous. How fast can you run? You must leave the country now. Stop trusting your mirror. Stop locking your door at night." And the most seen one, repeated in multiple videos and posts that we are going to see, is, "This device has been seized." In fact, in the comments, one of the strangest ones I saw, and that gave me the creeps because of how specific it is the one that says, "Open your eyes and face what you have done." Well, to break the mystique a bit, it turns out that many of the phrases we see there are references to shows like this last phrase, which is from Dexter, or others reported like, "Beware of the man who speaks." Speaks in Signs, which is a reference to W.D. Gester from Undertale. That's the case with many other things that aren't just creepy, but have much more suggestive ideas, if you know what I mean. To clarify, if you follow these suggestions, there will be no videos of this type, regardless of how violent the text is. On top of that, the viral spread of cryptic phrases has caused a huge increase in people on the other side who have been leaving equally strange comments ever since the discovery. Or they upload videos with confusing titles to scare people who aren't aware of this trend, either by using bots or just manipulating the algorithm among themselves. Or we could even blame AI, trying to guess what the intellectual minds of TikTok are actually saying. This is something that comes and goes every so often, with several old posts talking about the situation, some dating back nearly a year. But what's really curious is how, in Spanish, it seems to be much harder to replicate, which might reveal something about the true perverse nature of Americans. TikTok Farlands. Now, if you guys are old like me, you might remember the times when YouTube didn't have the iconic related videos, but used to throw any kind of stuff at you. This meant you could start with gameplay, watch a horror video, then see one about subliminal messages, and end up back at a horror video. Famously, that ended up having many names, like the weird side of YouTube, or if you're really a walking corpse, the Twilight Zone of YouTube. This doesn't mean, obviously, that today there aren't strange videos on YouTube, because that couldn't be more false, but the possibility of finding them accidentally has been reduced considerably. Well, currently on the American side of the internet, there's been a lot of talk about a similar phenomenon that everyone thought was dead. That same idea, that if you spend enough time with the TikTok algorithm, it will break and start recommending you increasingly strange things. The TikTok Farlands get their name from a very similar glitch, the Minecraft Farlands. This serves as a warning from the game itself, unintentionally trying to tell you that your expedition has gone too far and maybe you should turn back. Except that, while in the game they are presented to you as imposing canyons of unstable collision, on TikTok they are bees, vague threats, and incredibly distorted faces. Apparently, this phenomenon may have started with a user who currently goes by that same name, who tried to warn people with the message that it was already too late, and if they saw that message, they should stop right then and there. Something I don't see many people mention about the original idea is that Along with the strange videos that were part of the Farlands, there were also notes describing the existence of something within the algorithm, capable of destroying phone screens and causing harm to those who are exploring late at night, a story worthy of a 2005 creepypasta. In this way, we can explore the platform almost like an iceberg, dividing each type of video you can find into levels, with the first one basically being your main TikTok page, normal, followed by niche edits with high layers of irony and vague posts, and by the third level, you'll be greeted by the B, what many people consider to be the true beginning of the Farlands. From this point on, strange faces, texts in other languages, minimal views or numbers start to appear. There are rumors of more dangerous content hidden there, but to be honest, this is something that is rumored about all social networks. Of course, the simplest way to access this kind of content is by directly searching the phrase TikTok Farlands, but it has also been reported that search terms like 333, 333, 333, or phrases in other languages throw you straight into the content. Like with any other internet mystery, people have quickly tried to assign different characteristics to the creatures around which the videos revolve, with some acting as guides, mentors, punishments, or monsters that should be avoided, which has made it one of the most widespread trends on the platform in recent times. We could talk much more about it if we wanted to cover its entire iceberg in a future video. These seem to be the current version of, well, rituals similar to the ones we saw on YouTube a long time ago. Things like full-stop punctuation or chains of highly specific emojis, which only link you to videos with those titles, created specifically to scare you. If you want to explore it, do so at your own risk, because although I didn't find anything particularly graphic during my searches, there were some deleted or restricted videos, so I can't guarantee that it's completely safe. Family Guy and the missing children? I think before we start, I have to warn you that this is the most real case on the list, and at the same time, the most dehumanizing. So, if you don't feel like hearing something this heavy, I recommend clicking off the video. Since the pandemic, a very particular type of content became extremely common: Family Guy videos with gameplay in the background. Watching any mobile game, which by now is synonymous with these short-form content platforms, repetitive and so easy to mass-produce. Eventually, it became a meme in itself, which led to putting increasingly cursed things on screen or playing even more ridiculous games, and it became the perfect opportunity to scare distracted people who are watching reels before going to sleep. Which brings us to, perhaps the darkest content in this entire video. Screamers in these things aren't something unusual. There was already a compilation from South Park that became popular, which added a scary face out of nowhere. But in the search for things to shock people, a pretty dark concept started to be used. What you're seeing is another video that exists under the concept of surprising those who are watching Family Guy clips at 2 a.m. with half their brain turned on, but here we're presented with a missing person victim. And this gets even worse when the video pauses what we're watching to show us those posters of kidnapped people. At least originally, they were fake cases that were only put there for shock value. We even started to think it was an ARG or something like that, something we could cover once the mystery had progressed further or a narrative had been revealed. But the investigation by Mike Casey Valentine, brought to light the fact that the TikTok community took that idea and started using the case of a real minor, who unfortunately passed away under very strange circumstances, distorting the video, changing Peter's dialogue to talk about the missing boy, and putting his face and FBI poster on the screen, trying to create a horror effect. But it's really just a horrible lack of respect for the victim, although I have to say that it is very effective in its goal of disturbing people. It should go without saying that if you see these videos, you should ignore them. They're just people exploiting real tragedies and deaths for social media clicks. Family Guy has become a strange magnet for some really dark ideas around the internet, whether it's just to give someone a hard time or a real scam network that exists on YouTube, which we talked about a few videos ago. It's curious how, out of all the shows that have come out, its edgy jokes allow its community to use it to create some of the most bizarre or disturbing scenarios we've seen. These are just some of the many strange places on TikTok, but believe me, with how vast this social network is, I wouldn't be surprised at all if there are even worse things that we could talk about in another video, things I simply didn't find or that no longer exist. TikTok isn't the worst social network in the world, that's Twitter, but it's obvious that if you look hard enough, you can find a lot of shady stuff. So, I ask you, what's the strangest thing you found on this platform? Do you think it has the potential to be something really dark? Nobody believes you? Well, I'll read your comments, and I wish you a safe journey through the dark side of TikTok. Goodbye.